Hello and welcome to Discover History YouTube channel, and tonight we're going to continue our look at the Battle of Worcester that was ultimately fought on the 3rd of September 1651. Now we're following it, and if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, remember to click on the playlist and you'll bring them all up. And you've already seen the Royalist army has left Stirling heading south. We've got them crossing the border. Cromwell's reacted to it. So we're now on to the 9th of August, and therefore if we look at the 9th of August in 1651, what we need to do now is update you to what's going on. And the interesting thing is, at the moment, the Royalist army under Charles, later to become Charles II, technically under the command of the Duke of Hamilton, has arrived just outside Kendal. And I don't know if anyone's been there. You may be there at the moment on a holiday, for example. So he's right into England now. He's still in the north, but he's really crossed and marching about 15 to 20 mile a day, which is quite good going in relatively hot temperatures. Now at the moment it's quite warm, and we know for a fact that in 1651 August and even September, even the time of the Battle of Worcester, it was pretty warm. So you can imagine how tiring it's going to be for the Royalists, who are marching with very few supplies. And we know most of them were stopping off at ditches and streams and even puddles on the side of the road in the ditches to drink the water. Now, what we must not forget, and this is very, very important, and I always emphasise this, is a lot of people often feel sorry for the Royalist army. I've done talks before on the Battle of Worcester, and we've had people say it's such a shame that the Royalist army was so tired when they reached Worcester. They'd marched after all 300 miles in 3 weeks. But what you must remember, and this is why I always say I emphasise it a lot, is that the Parliament army were predominantly based in Scotland after the Battle of Dunbar in this Third Civil War. So really, when Charles nips out of Stirling and starts racing down towards Carlisle and then into England, you have to remember the Parliament army are doing pretty much the same thing. So the Royalists and the Parliamentarians are both covering about 300 miles in 3 weeks to reach Worcester and then fight the battle on the 3rd of September. So technically both armies are extremely tired and footsore. So we're on to the 9th of August now. So what was really going on? As I mentioned, Charles was at Kendal with his army, and remember, the Duke of Buckingham is not happy at all. He thought he would now command them, now they're in England, but unfortunately the Duke of Hamilton is still in command of that army. It's interesting, however, because the Duke of Hamilton is actually quoted at this point in the march on Worcester, and he actually says that all the rogues have left us. And he said, I was not sure whether it was out of fear or disloyalty. So actually there are some Scots within the army that are actually giving up, even though they're now at Kendal. So there was a few Scots that were returning back to Scotland. So this 10,000 strong army is probably getting smaller as it moves south anyway. So that's going to be a shocking situation for the Royalists, whereas the Parliament army will actually be getting bigger. So it's quite interesting. It very much mirrors the Jacobite rebellion later on with Bonnie Prince Charlie, really, when they march all the way down to Derby. So what I've got, and I've covered up part of the map, is the map I use when we do our talks and battlefield tours. And what you will see on the map is the blue line, which is representing Charles's march from Stirling across the border into Carlisle and in the north of the country, and it's a blue line, as you can see. You'll also notice on there we have also got a red line which is pretty much running parallel, which says the words Lambert. And remember, Lambert and 4,000 cavalry was asked by Oliver Cromwell to ride behind the Royalists, but ensure that they keep on the move, tire them out, but not to engage them. And that is exactly what Lambert is doing. He's doing a very, very good job at keeping an eye on where those Scots are going. After all, it is a Scottish invasion. You also find at Perth and Edinburgh, or in particular Leith, just outside Edinburgh, you've also got some more red lines, and that's actually Oliver Cromwell personally. So Lambert is keeping the Royalists in check. The Royalists are obviously at Kendal at this very moment, and Cromwell is staying on the other coastline. And it's interesting because Cromwell has actually said we must ensure that the Royalist army stay on the west coast. And that was really, really important because London is situated on the east. So very simply, the plan is let's push the Royalists onto the west coast, make them go down the west hand side of the Pennines, whilst the main bulk of the New Model Army under Cromwell moves down on the east coast, getting closer and closer to London. If the Royalists get to London, they can cut them off at any point by keeping along that edge. It's an interesting situation at the moment because technically they don't know Worcester is going to be where the battle is fought. And at the moment, no one really knows the full makeup of each other's army. What we do know today in 2020 is Charles's army is about 10,000 strong. Oliver Cromwell's New Model Army is around about the same, 4,000 cavalry under Lambert. This is the other important thing. Cromwell and the Council of State has actually given a commission for the raising of these northern militias. So the northern militias will be raising the local men to fight off this Scottish invasion. And the thing is, these are growing daily. There could be 20 men in one little village, 40 men in another village, 150 in a northern town, and they're all starting to accumulate in one place. Actually, they're accumulating under the command of a man called Harrison, and at the moment he is at Newcastle. And if you look at where I've actually put the white piece of paper to not give you any spoilers, you will see there's going to be a convergence of the Parliament army: Cromwell, Lambert and Harrison. The Royalists, however, are going to be pushed down that west coast line, keeping them well clear of London. So even though Charles's big plan is to reach London and retake his father's throne, is it going to happen? Well, a little spoiler, at the Battle of Worcester, Charles doesn't do very well. Anyway, that's the news on the 9th of August 1651. Hopefully you're following it. Make sure you subscribe, maybe even share and pass the news around about this little venture that we're on. And hopefully you've had a fantastic weekend. We've been extremely busy doing some walks, and we're also keeping ourselves busy by sorting out lots and lots of props that we use in our school workshops and talks and so on. Helen has just updated the website, so if you went on there and look at the events list, you will see the next set of theme tours that's happening starting on Monday and continuing through. And remember, these theme tours are happening all the way through the summer, whereas usually we'd be out and about, whereas now, due to COVID-19, we're working local. Anyway, on that note, stay safe and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.